Today I want to talk to you about the age-old debate, rent versus buy. So with the property market cooling down a bit, well, kinda a little bit, but still being unaffordable for many first-home buyers, it's a tough decision, right? And with interest rates on the rise and uncertainty about where the market is headed, it's kind of replaced that fear of, FOMO, fear of missing out, with a fear of buying too soon. So now there's some incentives for first-home buyers, as you guys know, like the first home loan deposit scheme, the first home loan guarantee scheme, the first home owners grant deposit, and the New South Wales government is giving homeowners, first homeowners, the option to opt out of paying upfront stamp duty with an annual land tax, right? So, but even with those, prices are still significantly higher than pre-pandemic times, as you can see. And many young people are worried, the people I speak to on TikTok, a lot of Gen Zs, they're worried that they have probably missed the chance to get on the property ladder altogether, But on the other hand, we got a rental crisis with vacancy rates at an all-time low and rent prices skyrocketing. So it's a tough call, right? So do you go for the long-term investment of buying a home, even though it's kind of expensive right now, right? Or do you go for the flexibility of renting, even though it's just expensive and harder to come by? So the truth is, there are pros and cons. So for both options, it really comes down to your personal and financial situation. And again, not financial advice, it's just my opinion. It's up to you to weigh them up and decide what's best for you. But I'll give you a breakdown, just to help you guys a bit. Give you guys the breakdown of the pros and cons for each so you can make an informed decision, And in addition, if you can't decide to buy or rent, you can actually do both. That's correct. Like there's a thing called rentvesting, and I'll talk more about that later, which, at the end of this video, I'll talk much more about, doing both things, the best of both worlds. So make sure you stay to the end of this video. And if you already have not, hit the subscribe button and tickle the bell notification button, because I'll be releasing a brand new video every week on YouTube. I've been saying, I want to get into YouTube. I'm going to do longer form of videos. Yes, now I have freed up a bit more time and I'm going to do this every single week, so don't miss out. All right, so let's dive into the pros of renting. So the first and most obvious pro is the flexibility. So as a renter, you got the freedom to move around and explore different neighborhoods without being tied down to a mortgage, as you know. So another pro is costs. Renting can often be more affordable option, especially if you're looking to live in more desirable inner city locations. Even though rents are on the rise, more often than not, your monthly rent will be less than what a mortgage payment would be for a similar property. Third pro is avoiding maintenance and repair costs. As a renter, you don't have to worry about the expenses that come with home ownership, like costly repairs, maintenance, and insurance bills. They're all on your landlord, or for people like myself who is a landlord, they're all on me. And the fourth pro is avoiding mortgage or interest rate stress. There's a lot of stress with the interest rates on the rise. With there was an 8 consecutive rise in interest rates. It's got to be a 9 consecutive rise in February. So homeowners are feeling the pinch, and many are finding themselves in mortgage stress, so as you can call it. But as a renter, this isn't something you have to worry about, And about the last pro is that you don't need a down payment, Unlike, homeowners, renters don't have to fork out over their life savings for a down payment. Sure, there's like a rental deposit, a rental bond, but it's nowhere near the amount of cash needed for down payment on a house. But just like anything else in life, let me tell you, there are cons worth considering when, thinking about renting. So first and foremost, instability. So as a renter, there's no guarantee of how long you'll be able to stay in a property. It's all up to the landlord, who can, ask you to leave or vacate the property, or even like terminate your lease early. Obviously, they'll give you some pocket money on your way. And secondly, the property is never like truly yours. You have to deal with property managers and landlords coming in and out as you please. Every time someone needs to inspect the property to get out equity for their property, they have to call you, the tenant, and the valuer has to go in and take photos, and there'll be your kids' photos inside, or your private photos, and you can't avoid that. And you can't make any changes to the property without their permission, right? And thirdly, the cost of rent is on the rise. So with vacancy rates at an all-time low, rental prices are going up and up and up. And unlike a mortgage, a rent is an ongoing expense that never stops. And lastly, as a renter, you're at the mercy of your landlord. they can legally increase your rental fee every 12 months or evict you with relatively short notice. And yes, you can go to Fair Trading Australia, yada yada yada, but it's just a slap on the wrist for the landlord, right? So as you can see, renting has its downsides, so it's important to weigh the pros and the cons before making a decision. Next, I'm going to break down the pros and cons of buying a property for you. Let's start with the pros. Let's start with the positive. Okay, so when you buy a home, you got that sense of stability. You get to pick how long you want to live there, as long as you make your mortgage repayments, and you can make improvements to the living space as you like. Plus, you know how much your payments are going to be and how long you're going to be paying them for, and you'll be building equity with every payment you make towards your home, right? Which can help you draw down a line of credit or equity cash out to buy another property that I always talk about on my TikToks. I call them equity cash outs. And if everything goes according to plan, you can pay off your home loan within 30 years. And if you crank it enough and be frugal enough, you can actually pay it off in 15 years, which means you don't got to worry about rent repayments in your retirement, right? So also, owning a property is a stable long-term investment. I always talk about it, long-term investment. Sure, the property value might fluctuate in the short term. There might be corrections in the market, but if you buy well and you maintain it, the long-term trend for property values goes up. If you look at New South Wales, Sydney property, Google the graph of the property prices in the last 20 years. Yes, it goes up and down, but it's always trending upwards. Every payment you make on your home loan is improving your credit score as well, which means the banks love you. And if you're a first-time buyer, I always say this, there are incentives available, like the first home loan deposit scheme, the first home owners grant that was out for many years, and then the new home buyer scheme, for frontline workers. And then now there's this, help me buy scheme, many schemes. But buying a property isn't for everyone. I know. I harp on about it, but I know. I know. And it comes with some downsides. So to be unbiased, I'll give you the cons. So one being less flexibility, okay? Because the costs associated with buying and selling property, you have less flexibility when it comes to moving houses, okay? You got to come up with a large deposit amount, which can be a big chunk of change. And you're responsible for all the maintenance and repair costs, which can add up really quickly. And you're at the mercy of interest rate hikes, RBA hikes. Everybody gets scared, which can be a big factor in how much you're, paying back. You could be thousands of dollars more if they keep hiking interest rates. And like any investment, there's always an element of risk. So if you're risk averse or you're very scared and timid, it might not be for you, because you might wake up, in the middle of the night with a lot of sweat over you because you're so afraid of repayments and keeping up with repayments. But like I said before in this video, I'd like to introduce you to another concept where you can do the best of both worlds. It's called rent vesting, okay? It's when you buy an investment property first and continue to rent the home you want to live in. Yeah, that's simple. I've seen more and more young buyers, Gen Zs, choosing to get into the property market this way. So instead of buying a home to live in, it's worth considering rent vesting. So before you go on into considering rent vesting, I want to talk about the pros and cons of rent vesting for you, okay? So rent vesting is a strategy where you rent the property you live in and you invest in a property or other properties that you can afford to buy. So this can be a great way to get your foot in the door of the real estate market, but it does come with some drawbacks. So let's start with the pros, okay? So rent vesting allows you to have your cake and eat it too. You can rent in a desirable location, like a beachside or in a suburb where there's great coffee culture, cafe culture, restaurants, nightlife, entertainment, you name it, recreational facilities, and you still invest in a property that you can afford. So you can have where you want to live and also own it in a property that appreciates in value or has a high rental yield. So this gives you the best of both worlds, right? So you also can get a foot in on the ladder of the property ownership, okay? Maybe you're living at home and not paying rent, or maybe you're not sure where you want to settle yet. So rent vesting gives you the flexibility to get into the property market without being tied down, so to speak. And rent vesting is also tax deductible. I love tax deductible because my tax income is quite high and I love to reduce tax. So the expenses involved in owning an investment property, like interest, bank fees, property management, depreciation, council rates, all that cost is tax deductible, which basically means it helps you pay less tax. And this is especially true when using a tax strategy like, I always talk about negative gearing. But let's talk about some of the cons of rent vesting to be unbiased, okay? The first one is the instability of the property you live in. Okay, what do I mean by that? So as a tenant, you have very little say on how long you'll be able to remain in the property when you're renting, okay? Because when you're doing rent vesting. And ultimately, it's up to the landlord. So this can make your primary residence less secure because you're rent vesting. Although you're investing in property, but the place you're living, the landlord could always kick you out, all right? Another con is that you don't have the access to first-time home buyer incentives like the first home loan deposit scheme, first home owner's grant, and all those new schemes that's coming out. Yes, you don't. Just because you're buying your first property, you have to live in it to get those incentives. If it's an investment, you still have to pay stamp duty, and all those benefits are not applicable to you. However, you can still claim the first home buyer's grant and all those grants as long as you don't live in this investment property you plan to do rent vesting on. So these incentives are only available to those who buy properties to live in, as I said. You're also liable to pay capital gains tax. Did you know that? What is that? What is capital gains tax? It's basically if you buy an investment property and you don't plan to live in it, and then you sell it in a desirable future. For example, if you sell it within 12 months, it's 100% capital gains tax. So you're gonna pay tax on the profit. However, if it's more than 12 months, you get 50% discount. So if you made $100K profit, you only need to pay tax on $50,000. Now, this tax doesn't apply to buyers who buy a property as a first home buyer. And finally, there's always the risk that comes with buying any property. Again, guys, this is not financial advice. Please seek independent financial and legal advice before you go and buy the property that you want. And like buying any type of property, you can buy the wrong type of property. It might be the wrong area or at the wrong time. So guys, use this as general information. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, isn't rent money dead money anyway? So not necessarily, right? There's a good financial argument for continuing to rent and buying investment property first, okay?
Oh my God!
So let me give you an example, right? Imagine you and I live on the same street, next to each other, right? In similar homes worth, for example, $800,000, all right? We both pay our home mortgages, rates, insurance, maintenance bills, and so forth out of our after-tax dollars, okay? Now, what if we swapped home and rented off each other, right? Oh, yeah, loophole. Right. I'll get the bonus of further tax deductions because I'm renting it off you, right? And you'll get the tax deductions on the depreciation of the property, on the fixtures, the fitting inside, and the repairs. So if we both rent off each other, if we sort of did that kind of rent vesting to each other and benefit off each other, actually living in that home, we actually get tax benefits. The point I'm trying to make is that the sums are nowhere near as bad as most people imagine when buying an investment property. So guys, in conclusion, rent vesting is a great way to get your foot in the door of the real estate market, but it does come with some drawbacks as I've just outlined. It's important to weigh the pros and the cons carefully before making a decision, okay? Remember, buying your home, it should be a lifestyle decision, but it also can be a financial decision, okay? So it's whatever you prioritize, guys. There's no musts or shoulds that you have to do, okay? But many successful property investors that have, significant portfolios of properties around Australia, I know they still rent. I personally don't rent because I don't like, landlords dictating how I live. But some of them I've dealt with, they like to rent and just own a bunch of investment properties, It's all about finding a strategy that works for you. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching. Guys, I hope you found this video very informative and helpful in deciding whether it's best to rent or buy or even rent vest, So remember, guys, I'm a holistic mortgage broker. I don't just harp on about products and flog you, the cheapest home loan out there. No, I actually have very solid experience as a property investor myself and as a 15 years, mortgage broker that's dealt with a lot of savvy investors. So guys, if you guys have any further questions and would like to inquire more, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Just go to www.thathomeloandude.com.au, www.thathomeloandude.com.au, lude.com. It's on the screen. Schedule a 15 minutes chat with me. And remember, I'll throw in my book, which is over here, Keep Calm and Mortgage On. And I'll also throw in a super home loan budget planner, which has 8 to 9 tabs of spreadsheets, which makes it beautiful for you to budget out your next deposit, or maybe your next property, okay? Or your second property, So remember, guys, I'm here to help. If you're thinking about getting into the property market and wondering whether you should, there's just other 37,000 first-time buyers that follow me on that TikTok channel, that home loan dude. I'm always approachable, and I try to break down hard-sounding finance education to be as educational and fun to watch as possible. So again, thanks again for watching this video. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell me what you think about this video. What should I make next? I'll see you in the next video.